Hobart and Chris Pilo. I take it that Glenn Morrell is trusting you to talk about parks tonight, right?
Well, actually, I had Katie kind of on standby as I await my first grandson here any day. So she was waiting in the wings. So I said, you might as well go through the whole process anyways. So a couple of things before I actually get into it, and I'm not going to go line by line for you, but the 2024 budget does not include any additional full-time staff or any major or significant changes to the current department structure. Obviously, the department, I feel, does an excellent job of providing programs and services to the community, which as we go through 23, I always give a little bit of plug before I get into 24 figures. Where we're currently at, after the 7-month mark, our expenses right around 53% for the department. So we're actually doing well on the expense side, and our revenue collection is currently at 88% of revenue. So our budget for 23 should be pretty healthy, and some of that is reflected in 24, some of the revenue lines. So let's get started. First, 6772, which is Program for the Aging. It's our 55 plus program. No major changes to the overall expenses. The only significant or major change here would be to the 2000 line, which is capital purchases. It's that request is for some improvements to the senior lounge, some of that furniture and some of the amenities in there is time to be replaced. So we budgeted for $1,500 to do some minor changes in that room. From a revenue standpoint, again, very, very simple, really only 3 lines in there. Slightly up is we do see an increase in the senior recreation, which is our program. That's not the lunch program, it's our actual program activities for our seniors. We're seeing the increase in that, so we've budgeted accordingly. So overall, our revenue for that department's up by about $11,000. Good. From a recreation standpoint, again, I'm not going to go through each one of these lines. Several of these lines I'll go through, or some of these lines I'll go through that have some changes. Obviously, these first 0.1 lines are all salary lines. The 10087 administrative support staff line, that is an increase. That's basically as a result of, as we budget for the increase in minimum wage. Really no change to our current staff structure. That's really what supports our building. The building is staffed 7 days a week for about 104 hours per week. So that does have an impact as we look at the minimum wage. 10097, that's our seasonal personnel line. That increase, again, minimum wage, continues to drive those costs up. Additionally, we also have now a second summer day camp site that we provide services for, so that obviously increases the number of staff that we hire on a seasonal basis. And actually, once the budget is adopted, wherever this figure ends up, one of the suggestions that we're going to look to try to do is we're going to break out of that seasonal line. We're actually going to try to create that into 2 payroll lines, or 2 payroll accounts, one for our summer camp and then one for the rest of our seasonal lines. That'll help really with determining our costs as we provide that summer camp program, which is obviously a major factor on, in that line. Out of that 125,000, close to 100 of it is specifically for our summer camp program. So we're going to look to try to break that out so we can track it a little bit closer as we go through the year. As we go through 20011, the computer licensing, that's slightly up, again, as others have shared tonight. That's for covering all of the workstations that we have, which is for 10 full-time and a part-time computer and the license. And then we also have budgeted for a replacement of a laptop for the department. 4056, general repairs, slightly up. The reason for that increase is I'll get into revenue here in a few minutes. We've run into, in this past year, about a $5,000 to $6,000 increase in what we have to purchase for membership cards for our facility. That's a good thing that we have this problem because we have more members now in the building. but that's a cost that used to be able to be incurred about once every 2 years. Now we're having to do it on an annual basis. And unfortunately, those cards we can only get them from one place so that they work with our registration and our security system. Computer tech support, that $19,000 is for the Vermont system, which is cloud-based, which hosts our registration software, RecTrack. We put this in last year, and all I can tell you is that by having that based on the cloud, it has improved efficiency in the system. We're no longer seeing downtime for having to do updates. It's all done automatically, and I know our IT department appreciates the fact that no longer do they have to manage those type of updates or changes. So that's been a very nice change for the department. 40227 day trips, that has a slight increase, and again, what we're going to be doing is once this budget is finalized, that day trips is actually specific to our summer camp program. So what we did was we rolled supplies for our summer camp program into that. So we took it out of our rec supply line and we moved it into this. So this will actually look to be renamed as a summer camp expense line, since everything that's in there is specific to our summer camp program. So that would cover things as supplies, items that they need for camp, along with buses and entry into wherever their field trip may be for that trip. Regards to some of the other items down towards the bottom, we're starting to see, as everybody is, utilities between natural gas, electric especially, an increase. So we've budgeted accordingly. Water seems to be pretty typical. Our biggest use for water outside of the building is obviously our spray parks. Okay. From a revenue side, 2003, that's our program line. We've increased that by 20,000, so it's up to 300. Just as a note, this budget line is increased about $75,000 since 2019. That's all is a matter of the staff and their efforts in running quality programs and the number of programs. So that's we're continuing to see that line have significant increases. 2011, which is our silver revenue, this continues to increase. We're budgeting for about a 22% increase in 2024. We're seeing monthly return on our silver revenue at a pace that we haven't seen yet. So we track that on a monthly basis, and the revenue that's coming back from our silver revenue is significant, and I think we'll see that continuing increase in 2024. 2035 is fitness classes. I will just bring this up as to why this looks the way it does. In 23, we had a budget of 70, and we dropped it by 50,000 for 24. However, if you look at the next line, fitness membership, there's a $50,000 increase. So basically what we did is we moved it from one line to the other. And the reason that we did that is in fitness memberships in the past, when we do our installment billings, a portion of that would be pulled out and go into the fitness class line, which basically covers the premier memberships. So those people that have a premier membership. It was being pulled out and put into the fitness class line. Well, it really didn't give us a good indicator of what our fitness membership was. So we decided to leave the premier memberships in the fitness membership so we have a good indicator of actually what we're bringing in revenue-wise on a month-to-month and year basis in regards to dollars. So we left that in, and what fitness classes will now constitute from a revenue standpoint are for people that come in that may not be a member. They will pay a drop-in fee, pay a building use fee, strength training, any kind of those drop-in programs. That revenue will now go into that fitness class line. So that's why we reduced it as such.
It's smart to isolate that.
Exactly. It kind of clouded it when you looked at some of the numbers. It wasn't really a clear picture, especially on the fitness membership side. So. And then obviously those last two lines are reimbursed from the county. The one note that I did have, that I didn't make on my notes here, was in 2023 when I did this presentation. We were talking about memberships. We were at an installment billing on a monthly basis. We were at 370. When we ran our last monthly installment billing, we were at 473. So we're up over just over 100 members per month since last year.
That's big.
Parks, I'll do my best for Glenn here. Really, again, same kind of concept from an expense standpoint, this first view. I will say that 10102, the part-time park maintenance line, that does have an increase, and the reason for that is not only for taking into account wage increases, but it also does include a request to have a 20 to 25 hour a week part-time facilities person to be able to assist with the facility needs around town. As you know, we instituted a facilities staff person a few years ago, and that person has been managing a number of different facility issues around town, whether it's from fixing items or working with contractors, helping manage some of the various items that happen around town, like HVAC issues, those kind of things. So we've been doing that with one person. One of the recommendations when we started that process was that this would sort of be a phase-in approach. So this is our next request, to be able to have somebody, again, from a part-time standpoint, be able to assist with some of the smaller tasks, things like the painting of doors, the exterior doors at the courthouse, those kind of things that needed to be done, but difficult sometimes when the facilities person is spending a day with the HVAC contractor troubleshooting issues at town hall. So that's the request for that. 20011 is computer licensing. This is for the three computers that we have within our parks department. 20059 is our capital improvement line, and we have in there $25,000. That's up from last year. That $25,000 is specific for one project. As you know, this year we're in the process of wrapping up the improvements to our tennis/pickleball courts outdoors at first responders. So this $25,000 is to do a new driveway and parking lot at that location. If you've driven back there in the last year, you can lose a filling in some of the potholes that are in there. We do our best to be able to make do and fill where we can, but this would sort of complete that project next year. So the request is slightly higher than what we had for 23. 20064 is our capital purchase park improvement. That's the 20,000. That's the annual 20,000 that allows us to do various projects within all the parks. Most specifically, the funds were used to help be able to upgrade and change the signage at all of our town parks, to have a consistent look, and so that's one of the type of projects. One of the areas that we're looking to use some of this funds for is to change out all of our kitchen apparatus at the two lodges, replacing those with commercial grade refrigerators and stoves, etc., because of the use that they take. I didn't talk about the capital purchase, sorry, go back to 20063, capital purchase equipment. That's for 20,000, it's slightly down. We've been fortunate with the town board's assistance the last few years to really improve the equipment that the park staff have at their disposal. So this year there's not quite as much of an ask. A few of those things actually relate specifically to the buildings. We're looking to replace the floor machine, the Viper machine that is used on a daily basis throughout the rec center. Looking to purchase a gym floor protector so that when we have events in the gymnasium, we have something that if we feel may do some damage or have some issue with our gym floor, we've got a way to be able to protect that. And then we also put in for replacement of one of our softball fences at the rec center at Chiota. We're looking to replace those. We have three, obviously, with A, B, and C. We're looking to replace those one a year. Now I'll jump down to 40101. That's our vehicle lease. That jumps significantly, as you see. Last year we had one vehicle, and that was our facilities van, which I'm not sure if people have seen around town, but that was a must-need or a must-have last year. So obviously that lease continues, and then this year we're looking to, we have two vehicles, two park trucks that need to be worked out of service. One is a 2013, and one is a 2016. One of those is a plow truck, so this includes a retrofit or a outfit of that vehicle for a full plow. So there was one time, this is part of the enterprise fleet program, and we do have a one-time cost to be able to outfit that vehicle. Then we won't incur that cost on a monthly after the first year. So we'll in total have 3 vehicles as part of the fleet program in 2024. 40166 fuel market increase. Again, as everybody has seen, I know the police just talked about it. We're seeing that across the board. The 40211, that was a 0 to a 2500. Just real quick, that is an ask and a request for some funds that we can use. So Friends of Webster Trails, as they're doing various projects, tasks around town, on town property, if they have something that we're able to support them with, we have some funds available to it. Right now, we just figure where we can pull those funds from. But if we have the ability to create an expense line to be able to support some of those projects, helps us as well as it helps Friends of Webster Trails. And obviously, everything that they do is so important to what we have in all of our park systems. And then the last one on there that I'll just talk about real quick is 40248, lawn service. I put 120 in there, so it is a slight increase. Our contract with our current lawn service is up this year. So we are actually, we are working on getting the bid package put together now. Our plan is to go out to bid with that sometime in early fall. We're hoping by the early October we can have that out to bid, so we can have that back by November. So that'll really give us an idea. But based on what we're seeing from some of the other municipalities, specifically Penfield, who also contracts out their lawn service, we figured this is probably a similar jump of where we might need to be. Hopefully it comes back a little lower. We're going to get a look to do a 3-year bid, as that seemed to really benefit the town, as we saw some significant cost savings the last 3 years with that. So
Are these for 3 years?
it is, it's crazy.
There's no option to extend.
There's not. Yeah. And I can understand because they went 3 years. They went 3 years. If it's 1 year, maybe, but they went 3 years, and it'll be time for them to
reevaluate.
Yeah. Then from a revenue standpoint, I do have the park lodge is slightly up to 110,000. And then the other thing that is here, I don't think you have on here, Paul, is the sale of those 2 trucks that we are sending off the parks.
Correct.
So
we did not include any anticipated sales, whatever, but there will be something we could add in.
Yeah. So
it's an uncertain amount, so we chose to leave it out.
And that's it. Katie?
No, just the changes that Chris is, proposing for the different budget lines really will help from a management perspective to kind of keep things clear for both Glenn, myself, and our staff. So we anticipate a great 2024 as we end 2023.
Questions?
I had just one question. It goes back to the recreation, and we talked about the increase in fitness memberships. I would hope that we've seen an increase since the pandemic. People were not participating in memberships. Do you have any idea where we are, such as those numbers pre-COVID?
I believe we evaluated them a couple months ago, and we're right at 2019 numbers, I believe. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So we come back.
We have.
Fantastic.
It took a bit, but we did.
Yes.
I think actually when we had our initial budget meeting with, we showed a graph, so that showed at that time that we're actually in the trend will be for the rest of this year that we'll actually be ahead of where we were in 2019.
Fantastic.
And I remember, I think it was during our budget meeting, Bill, when you were there, liaison, because didn't you say that where we're at the 2019 levels, we've achieved that when a lot of our Xerox employees, they never came back to that campus. So to get back to those levels when you're devoid of those people is a nice,
Yeah, I know I've said it, I think every year that since I've been here with the town. And I was fortunate that I spent my first bunch of years in that same building as a Xerox person running programs for XRA. And the people that were participating in using the facility once the XRA facility turned over and the town took over ownership. I think that carried over time, and then obviously it slowly started to dwindle, but then when COVID hit and people were gone, those people haven't come back. So the fact that we're able to be at 473 households or units billed now on a monthly installment bill, that number was almost seemed unattainable before, considering now that those really aren't Xerox employees. Those are true residents and not
Sure.
residents, but mostly residents. So it's a testament to, to Jay and the programs and the things that he does, that he's bringing in a number of programs that we've offered. Even as last year when we purchased the spin bikes, so being able to offer those new programs, it's a whole new clientele that's in that building.
Future economic development will help.
Well, and it's funny because I was kind of hoping by now that we're a year out since Tessie bought 110 acres over there and 1.5 million square feet of buildings, and having met the Tessie management team and ownership back in October, they're very impressive. I was hoping by now that they'd have the plan for what they're going to do with those buildings. They don't, but they didn't buy in to just hang out. They're going to do something, and I would imagine it will bring employees back to the campus.
Which is,
And,
which is perfect for us. So
You'll
once-
market to them.
Yeah, once those people are there, it just gives us a whole nother.
Well, their buildings, that's got to be about a 9 iron from the facility.
Maybe a heavy
Well, I've seen you hit that's a wedge for you, Chris.
We still have a couple of Xerox employees that walk over daily and work out, so it's always been a topic of conversation, is reaching that group of Tessie employees, just as the relationship we have with Xerox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just mentioned, I just wrote a note here. Would we ever consider corporate memberships?
I would say it's not off the table by any stretch, yeah. Same thing with programs or services, yeah.
Since we've got a couple large new players in each town.
Yep.
I think it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tracy and Katie, thank you.